It's less about my methodology and more about what is going to work for your business. And that's my beef really with traditional change management is who cares about the methodology if it doesn't actually produce results. We're going to call traditional change management what it is, extortion with a PowerPoint. I'm going to walk you through a real world example that can help you navigate the difference between fluffy change management bullshit and something that's actually going to produce business results. As always, it doesn't matter what I think, you guys. It matters what we talk about as a community because one change management plan might work for business A is not going to work for business B. So let's have a conversation around it. If you agree with me, cool. If you don't, that's great too. Let's make sure that we give those options in the comments. So what's wrong with the traditional model? Traditional OCM loves to talk about things like communication, engagement, and starts off with all of this kumbaya unification energy. Lots of initial assessments, some very beautiful kickoff decks, 15 different kickoff calls and workshops. Seems like we're solid, right? We have a plan. That's until friction hits. Please, I'll wait while you name a technology project in your organization or your career that has gone perfectly. Not going to happen. Timelines shift, dependencies collide. That's when those methodologies start to wobble. They were never built for adaptive execution. And the biggest part of that is identifying those target business outcomes. A lot of organizations can do this, but they don't often do it well because it's usually built on those hub and spoke type of systems that are separate. IT has one goal, HR has another goal, accounting has another goal. They're built without a shared data model and synchronized dependencies. And the reason why they struggle with this is because it's hard, very hard, especially if you're someone who is in the organization day to day. You're too close to what you need to achieve and you have a hard time explaining it. Totally normal and valid. So there's two areas where I see OCM strategies really break down. And that's one, understanding the difference between complicated and complex. And two is the OCM or organizational change management function is in HR instead of the PMO. So let's start with the PM piece. Organizational change management is a technical project management role that needs to be in the same structure as how project management is executed within the organization. And that's where people miss, is it's part of the strategic layer, but it's not part of the execution layer. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the example. And then lastly, the difference between complicated and complex. The engine is complicated, right? It's hard to put together, but it does come with diagrams and instructions. And there are parts, but you can map it and control it, right? A weather system is complex. It's often unpredictable. We have some data, but there's a lot of variances and dependencies, and it's influenced by countless variables. I see organizations treating OCM like it's an engine as opposed to a weather system that needs to be modeled and adapted. So let's walk through an example of this because nothing drives me crazier than talking about change management and having no idea what anybody said in the room. So say we have business A that set a target of our goal with our technology implementation or just our optimization, modernization is to cut costs in manufacturing by reducing our warehouse inventory. Awesome goal. It's precise, it's measurable, we can work with that. This goal or statement, right, kicks off a chain reaction through 5 or 6 departments through the organization. So we have to define those systematic implications. This one target touches multiple levers: production cadence, procurement planning, logistics scheduling, sales forecasting. We just touched on those 5 or 6 departments that are now involved in this one strategic goal. So our OCM team is like, okay, everyone needs to understand this goal that's involved. Great. We've got what we call alignment. And that's where traditional OCM sees that as a destination. That is 1% of this overall initiative. Alignment is not understanding. It's certainly not tactical or functioning understanding. How does it affect each person's actual role? You need to model this process change and the system change and identify all of those different nodes that will be influenced by this new target. How will each person's job function change? We've got procurement, timing, fewer bulk buys, more frequent small orders, production scheduling, shorter runs, more setup, less of a buffer, and you've got a supply chain risk there. You have more exposure to supplier delays. That is complicated, right? A lot going on, but we're able to map it. Traditional change management might be able to do that in the fact that they can communicate and train on this change, but it doesn't often measure that system stress, throughput volatility, lead time spikes, capacity mismanagement, what goes wrong. Now, this is where the real magic happens in the execution layer. As soon as procurement adjusts the ordering, production gets squeezed. Maintenance pushes back because they have more changeovers. Finance starts to be like, does this cost to carry model make sense? An operation is just putting out fires. This is complex, right? Variables interact in unpredictable ways because human beings are making those micro decisions, or the human beings that coded the autonomous systems are making those micro decisions inside that system every half hour. Traditional OCM is going to try to control that. We're not going to control it. We're going to map it, we're going to read it, and we're going to give it a minute to analyze. So at this stage, we're not managing change. We're measuring the adaptability of these new processes. Lead time compression versus throughput stability. Sentiment drift versus operational KPIs. Coordination efficiencies throughout those interdependencies. And that's my issue with change practitioners is they show up and do a lot of talking instead of analyzing. Change doesn't live in the framework, my friends. It lives in the moment that something breaks.